Welcome to Worth It or Worthless, a show where typically every couple weeks we pull a game from my own personal collection of retro games, take off our nostalgia tinted glasses and decide, is the game good by today's standards and is it worth the price of admission? We talk about what the game does well, what the game doesn't do so well, and things that are just plain weird. I'm your host, Dan, joined as always by my friend Jordan. Jordan, what did we get into today?
Dan, it's happened once again. We have wound up on a desert island, and the good news is we have washed up with some video games.
Oh, once again. How does this keep happening to us?
I don't know. You'd think we would stop trying to, these deals come up. You can book a cross, you can go across the ocean on an airplane for $5, and you're like, why not? That sounds like a good deal.
$5? That sounds like a flight
too good to pass up.
You definitely want to take that flight. It sounds safe.
Yeah. What is this? Is this the third time we've been stranded on a desert island now?
Fourth. This is the
fourth time. Fourth time we've been stranded on a desert island. This time we've been stranded with some different games, though. So we're going to take a look at some of our top 13 desert island arcade ports. These are arcade games. Everybody knows arcade games, but these are games that were taken from the arcade and ported to consoles.
Yes.
We're going to look at what are the top 13 you'd want to be stranded on a desert island with. That's a very specific desert island to be stranded on.
Well, I was like, as I was looking at the list, I was like, do we take this up to 15 and start stretching, or do we take it down to 10, start cutting things? I wasn't sure, so I just figured 13. A baker's dozen was a nice round number for this particular episode. We should also say we are this is our first Janu-Arcade-Juary episode.
Janu-Arcade-Juary, that's right.
So we are celebrating arcade games this month a little more, and in honor of that, we did our Desert Island arcade ports. Now, why arcade ports instead of just straight arcade games?
That's what I want to know.
Well, I have an answer for you. You can't. Well, you can. I was going to say you can't collect arcade games, but you can collect ports of arcade games. You could collect arcade games if you were insane. However, these are games that you can actually add to your retro game collection.
Gotcha.
So it works with the theme of the show normally, and it works with the theme of the month. So
I think there are many of us who would love to have our own home arcade. Mm-hmm. Like if I had the space and money for that, absolutely, I would be all about it. But I think you're right. It's probably a little bit more practical to talk about adding actual games to your collection rather than arcade cabinets. And they're heavy too. We would have to pay a lot more in baggage fees for this airline flight than what we did.
True.
So
that's true.
You can toss 13 cartridges in your backpack, no problem.
Yeah, well, they're not all cartridges.
Oh no! Did you bring some discs, Dan? You got to learn your lesson. You can't bring discs to a desert island. They're gonna get the sand is gonna get on them. It's gonna scratch them up.
I brought discs and peripherals. What are you talking about?
You don't even know, Dan. The sand, it's coarse. It gets everywhere.
It's hot. I hate the sand and the sand people. Yeah, speaking of having a home arcade, I recently got an iArcade for myself for Christmas. Now, this is a device that I didn't know what was like a month and a half ago.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you bought it not knowing what it was, because that's usually a poor choice financially.
I'd never heard of it like at the end of November, and then at the beginning of December, I saw a video on YouTube of like 9 games you can play on iArcade right now. I think John Riggs was, the guy who posted it on YouTube, and I was like, what is an iArcade? I was like, what are these games you're playing? They look like fun. Turns out iArcade is kind of like an arcade one-up with an app store attached to it. You buy one, it comes with 11 pre-installed games, you get your Double Dragon, you get your Dragon's Lair, and so on, but then you can add a bunch of games onto it. So it's this like pretty cool arcade machine, and as I've been acquiring a bunch of new arcade games that I've never heard of, I'm also like, I think having a home arcade sounds like an even more fun idea to me than it ever has before.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think if you were born in the 80s, or I can only speak of the 80s because that's the decade I was born in, but just like arcade games. There's some special allure to them. It's like you enter into like a dark room that's just full of all these machines, and they're flashing and making noises. And
by a dark room, you mean a blacklit room?
Well, I mean, this is the thing about arcades is they could be, you know, maybe it is a blacklit room. Maybe it's just the entrance to a Pizza Hut. Maybe, you know, you never know where you're going to find an arcade machine in the 90s. And so just like something about that makes me so excited. I personally have an arcade one-up machine. You have an arcade one-up machine. There's just like something about like having this little piece of arcade history in my house that makes me extremely happy.
It's funny that you say you never know where you're going to find an arcade machine. You mentioned the dark entrance of a Pizza Hut. I remember in my childhood at some point playing Street Fighter 2 at a 7-Eleven convenience store. Yeah. Which is so random because I feel like you would never ever see an arcade machine at a convenience store anymore.
No, which is like, I don't know what happened. I guess you want to just get in and out where like we move too fast. There's no.
We don't have in and out here in the Midwest.
You know what I mean? We just want to get into the building and out of the building. We're beyond like the days of like stopping to put a quarter in a machine and like slow down for a few minutes.
Yeah, well now you go to an arcade and you get a all-you-can-play wristband and you get really irritated when you have to pay for the machines.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the all-you-can-play arcade variety.
Yeah, I will. So if I go to an arcade, I might give you, if I'm feeling crazy, $10 to $20. But if you just straight up give me all you can play for like $20 or $25, you're probably going to make more money off of me as an arcade owner.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm the same way. I'll go to an arcade, put a $20 machine in the quarter thing. That's a ton of quarters.
Yes.
But I would much rather not have to like think about how I'm spending them. Just get the wristband and go that way.
Yeah. If you have an arcade in 2022, it's time to go all you can play.
I think part of that too is coming from like our childhoods and going to arcades, and like my parents would very rarely give us quarters for arcade machines. So like you'd be somewhere like I vividly remember being at the indoor soccer facility where my brothers were playing and like going to the arcade and just like going to each machine and like looking in the quarter return slot and like trying to find a quarter, like looking under machines trying to find a quarter, and it's like you finally find one and you get to play that one level and then you die very quickly because arcade games are hard. And so there's like something about having free play, which I think is the reason why arcade ports are so awesome, because you get to take this thing home and you can play it as much as you want. You don't have to worry about quarters. You don't have to worry about looking around and trying to find money. It's like I have this arcade port on my home, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, whatever, and I can play it as much as I want. And there's something very alluring about that.
Yeah, there's also something very alluring, back to my iArcade where I've like been pretending I've been going to the arcade and I'm like, I'm going to see how far I can get on one coin. And like, there's something about that that's just like, man, there's something about arcade games. There's something about the way that they're designed that is a really interesting challenge, but it's nice when you don't have to pay over and over and over again to make progress. It's like, I can put this one coin in, see how far I get, and then come back tomorrow maybe or later. Or I can just continue if I don't want to arbitrarily limit myself. Arcade games are special.
They are. They are.
On that note, Jordan, would you like to take the controls of this plane and do a nosedive onto that beautiful tropical island over there in the middle of nowhere and get into our list?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, Jordan, first on our list is a game that I put on there, which I've come to recently. I was kind of revamping our Desert Island NES list for a post for our website, which I've been working on, worthitoworthless.com. You could probably check it out as you're listening to this. And as I was revamping our Desert Island NES list, I was looking at my NES games, and I came across 1943. And I was like, I think I played this once or twice when I bought it. And so I was like, let me see if this has a spot on our our updated NES Desert Island list. And sure enough, I was like, man, 1943 seems really good. It seems really unique. It's like, it's not a typical vertical scrolling shooter. It's like you have constantly draining health, and you have like these power-ups that drop that you can turn into health instead of like a powered up weapon. Or if you're good on health, you can like turn it into a powered up weapon. And the NES version has like hidden secrets where you can get like upgrades for your planes and stuff like that. And I was like, goodness, this seems like a very good game that I've been ignoring a little too long.
Yeah, I've played a little bit of it. I love that kind of game. I love vertical shooters, and so I don't have as much experience with 1943 as I'd like. But yeah, I think it's a good addition to the list. And we should say that the games we're going to go through, these are not in any particular quality order. They're just in alphabetical order, which is why 1943 is first, because it's a number.
That's true. Also interesting about 1943, one thing, Capcom, so you know it's probably good. Two, it's our next episode for January.
It's our next episode.
It just happened to be. Yeah, first on the list, we put a Patreon poll out with several games, one of which was Snow Bros 2 with New Elves. Nobody wanted that game, but 1943, if you're curious, you want to hear more about it, you'll hear more about it in the next episode of the podcast.
Yeah, I said I wanted to play some more, and it looks like I'm going to get that opportunity soon.
Yeah.
I love that we are letting the Patreon subscribers vote on the second episode each month, because that's it's just a great way to let you guys have some input on these and maybe make us play some games we would have otherwise played. But most of all, it's that you guys probably saved me from having to play Snow Bros 2 with New Elves, whatever the heck that is, because I have no desire to participate in that.
Guys, listen, Snow Brothers 2 is available on my iArcade. That's how I played it. And I was like, regardless of whether the Patreon people want to hear an episode on this, I'm getting it. And I was like, I played a little bit of it. I was like, this is fun. How is this even possible? Because we played Snow Brothers 1 for a little bit of Extra Life. Like, we went back to it in November during our Extra Life stream. And it was like, yeah, no. This is just not a very good game. A very expensive, not good one. Yeah. But Snow Brothers 2, I was like, this is fun. Like, they polished up Snow Brothers, and like the with New Elves is like you have, so now you have one Snow Brother. You have like a Thunder Kid.
How did we get into a detailed description of Snow Brothers 2, man? We're talking about how nobody voted for it. Nobody wants Snow Brothers, and here you are giving us your dissertation on it.
Well, nobody wanted it, and I have to let people know why they actually do want it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So you have like a Wind Kid, and now you got like a Rain Kid, and then a Snow Kid. It's just like, I don't know. It's good. It's fun. It's polished. I like Snow Brothers 2.
That was your sale. There's a Wind Kid and a Snow Kid. Wow, man, I'm in.
There's some nightmare fuel on there for you too.
Yeah, it's got some of the most terrifying sprite work I've ever seen. All right, let's move on to the next game on our Desert Island arcade port list.
All right. Here's another one of my choices that I discovered when I was revamping our Desert Island NES list, Arkanoid. I am a fan of brick breakers. Like, getting back into arcade games lately, I've realized like some of the genres that I used to like a lot more that I've now just haven't played in a while, and brick breakers is one of them. And I was like playing some Arkanoid, a few weeks back, and I was like, I like this a lot. Why haven't I played more of this game? I'm really bad at it. It's really hard, but I'm like, I like brick breaking games, and then I played a few other brick breaking games since then. I'm like, this is a genre that I need to just get back to. There's just something about it.
Arkanoid was one of the very first games I ever played on a computer. My uncle sent us a diskette with Arkanoid on it, and it booted up on DOS. And I remember having a blast with that game when I was a kid, and then finding out later that it was an arcade game. And there is something about the arcade version of Arkanoid has a spinner, right?
Yeah.
Am I thinking correctly? Yeah. So there is something that you miss out a little bit on that in the home ports, but it's not super necessary. And you're right. There's something like addictive about brick breaker games. It's like I got to get that last one, and then the ball slips by. It's kind of like I don't know. I like it's kind of like pinball, but I for some reason like enjoy it more. I don't know.
Well, they actually made a peripheral for the NES version that actually has the dial.
Really?
So yeah, if you're fortunate, you can find one of those. I think it's a little bit. I want to say Price Charting had that version, although it might have been complete in box. At like $85.
Holy
so
cow.
You might be looking at a pretty penny for that one. But yeah, there's something about the brick breaking / Pong genre that I don't know, man. There's something addicting about it for me. Arkanoid is one of those that has like the power ups where you can get like an extended like paddle, or like you can get like lasers to like shoot the bricks, and it's good. It's good. If you haven't played Arkanoid,
the sticky launcher where the ball hits your thing and it stays, and then you get to move and launch it again.
Yeah, there's a Super Nintendo version that I don't know much about, but every time I go to the retro game shop, I'm like, I should buy that. I should buy that. I should buy that.
And you never do.
No, I never do. Maybe I'll do it today. Maybe today's the day that I just march in there and I'm like, give me Arkanoid, do it again.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, DOH. I think that's like a villain. I think there's this whole story to Arkanoid, though, like a weird sci-fi story that apparently is necessary for a brick breaking game.
Some games don't need a plot. I would say Arkanoid is one of those.
All right, moving on yet again. I don't know if you would have put this on the list. I just assumed that you didn't put this one on the list, Jordan. We got Bobble next.
I'm not disagreeing with any of your first three picks.
No?
I think all three of those are great games. Okay. Bobble is a fun one. It's in my opinion, the better version of Snow Bros. And again, one that is probably more fun to play at home than in an arcade where you're pumping quarters into it.
Yeah, so the home version on the NES specifically is a good game. It's 100 levels, I think, of like puzzle sort of. It's a weird puzzle game. You're trying to like bubble these monsters and hit them to knock them out. And then some of the levels get really tricky with how you have to do that. So it's got co-op, it's great, but the arcade version itself, I don't think you have unlimited continues no matter how many coins you put in the machine.
No, yeah, you only get a certain number of lives. You can get more lives in the game, but not by spending quarters.
Which is ridiculous. It's like, why would an arcade machine ever allow that? I don't understand. I mean,
if you want to like actually have accurate high scores, you don't want to just have it be pay to win.
But I mean, fair enough. I mean, yes, I absolutely agree with that. However, would you rather have accurate high scores or make a bunch of money off your game?
They're still going to make a bunch of money. I mean, you think about like Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, those Galaga didn't have continues. You just started over. You put in another quarter and started over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess maybe it was a thing at the time. But I picked this game up on I picked up the arcade version on PS4. I think there's an arcade archives version of it on some platforms. But I was like surprised to find that I couldn't just like muscle my way all the way through Bobble. I'm like, I'm actually gonna have to get good at this.
Yeah,
and that's refreshing and frustrating at the same time. There's something about, because I'm a fan of roguelikes. So when it comes to games like this, I'm like, I like this, but I don't at the same time. Just because
there's kind of a roguelike element to Bobble because certain items only drop after a certain number of like captures or pops or whatever. And so each time you play, it's a little bit different. And so you could have to play a bunch until you get like some of the better items because they only come up every so often.
Yeah, well, that's another one in the column for Snow Brothers 2.
Oh my gosh.
Being better than both Snow Brothers 1 and Bobble is the items. The items are fun in
this is
Snow Brothers 2.
There's items in Bobble. There's awesome items in Bobble. What are you talking about, man? Get out of here with
lightning
the
bolts.
Snow Brothers 2 stuff.
I'm going to keep... This is a thing from now on, man. I'm telling you, Snow Brothers 2 is going to be...
Have we been saying what consoles these ports are on? Are they
kind of
free? Are they all NES, right?
So there's NES games on here. It looks like, as I'm looking over the rest of the list, it looks like the front of the list is all NES games, but the back of the list is not.
Yeah.
So the first handful NES games, including our next one, which we should finally move on to, Jordan.
I agree.
We got Contra.
Contra is one of the rare exceptions where the arcade port, so the home console port is actually somehow better than the arcade machine.
Yeah, it's very weird. Contra is is a mediocre arcade game at best.
Yeah.
It's just not good, which
It
is
doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good.
no, it's very weird, and I don't understand why Konami was like, yeah, let's port this everywhere. People love Contra. Let's just put it everywhere.
Hey, it worked out for them, but somehow the NES version became like the definitive Contra.
But that's like the only good one. I feel like when we did this on the show, we looked at like every version of Contra, like a YouTube video that had like all the versions, and they all looked or sounded horrible, and the only one that seemed decent was the NES version.
Yeah, there's a reason that's the one that people think of when they think about Contra.
It's true. It's true. Contra's great. I mean, we beat it to death. Not the game, but Contra.
Hey, we beat it. We've played a lot of Contra on the show. If you're interested in hearing about Contra, Contra 3, Super C, Contra Hardcore, we've covered them all. You can find them on the podcast.
Shout out to Brownie from Contra Hardcore, the robot with a warm personality.
The only thing that makes that game like almost kind of playable.
Well,
it's hard. It's hard.
It's hardcore. Is the only one with double jump, right? Brownie?
Yes, he's the only one with double jump, which is important because for some reason there's way more platforming than you would want in a side-scrolling shooter game.
No, Contra, you don't want any platforming in any side-scrolling game.
You're right.
I think Contra, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what Contra would be like without platforming, and it's just like, no.
No, it's fine.
It's a boring game.
I'm not serious. You do need that.
That's like, I want to say that's bad dudes with guns, but I don't know. I don't think that's accurate, but
probably not. All right. Next up on the list is the first contribution that I gave to the list, and that is Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi is a blast in the arcade, but it is not an easy game, so the Dreamcast version is where it's at. I had a friend who had this on his Dreamcast, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever, because it was like the first time I saw, like, you know, like you couldn't go and take some arcade games and like accurately port them to home consoles because like, you know, your NES or Super Nintendo is not going to be able to render those like arcade quality 3D graphics. So the first time I saw Crazy Taxi on a home console, I was just like completely blown away.
The graphics, the Dreamcast being so far ahead of its time that it actually died a miserable death.
Yeah, it was too good. It was too good, too fast, and we just weren't ready for it.
Yeah, so you one of your first contributions. You could have made far more contributions to this list.
This is the thing.
Don't even start with me.
You made a really good list, and I agreed with almost all of it. And then I saw a couple things that you missed, and so I thought I would just add them to the list. I agree with many of your choices, but this was the first one that I individually contributed, and I think that you agreed with.
Yeah, so for me, Crazy Taxi is like the definition of like going to the store and playing a game at the Target kiosk. I remember playing Dreamcast Crazy Taxi quite a bit standing at the store. I also played I think it's a port of the arcade version on the Xbox 360. I think that there's a port of, I've never played like the PS2 version, and I've never owned the Dreamcast version, so I don't know like what all the differences are, and I don't think I've ever played like the actual arcade version of Crazy Taxi.
Oh man,
I don't
that's
know.
a good one.
So
I used to play that one at the arcade all the time.
I have experience with Crazy Taxi, but I don't know what the difference is in the versions that I've played versus like the real version. But it's a hard game, and you brought it up, and I was like, man, I want to play some Crazy Taxi. I want to get good at Crazy Taxi because it's not an easy game.
No, I wish that they would port it to modern consoles because I really want to play it. But as I was looking around, I saw that there is a 2021 game called Taxi Chaos that's on Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Steam.
Yeah.
And it looks like a straight up clone, but it kind of, something I was reading said that like Sega actually helped to like distribute it. So maybe it doesn't really have anything to do with Crazy Taxi, except for they probably like were required to like get Sega to sign off on it since they just straight up ripped off Crazy Taxi. I have no idea if it's any good, but I put it on my wish list and I will be picking it up when it goes on sale.
So you haven't like looked into it, whether it's similar?
I've
or
watched
not?
some videos. It looks exactly like Crazy Taxi, but without the soundtrack. It's got a kind of generic soundtrack rather than the one like the iconic kind of soundtrack that Crazy Taxi had.
Jordan, I got some good news. If you're really jonesing for some Crazy Taxi, you can actually pick it up. It's backwards compatible on Xbox One.
Oh, that's good to know.
So if you want to pick up the 360 arcade maybe port of Crazy Taxi and play proper Crazy Taxi, we can make that happen.
All right. Well, I might have to do that.
Jordan, next up on the list. Oh man. Now this is a bit of a weird one. I don't know if I've talked about this in the history of the show, but I have to be honest. In high school, I went through a DDR phase.
Now, Dan, this will tell us how serious your DDR phase was. When you bought the home version of DDR, did you have the vinyl mats or did you have the like hard, like plastic and metal mats?
Now, I believe the one you're referring to is the Cobalt Flux Pad.
Oh my goodness!
I think so. My friend who played DDR with me, we always wanted, we aspired to have the high quality home version, but no, sadly I only had and still have the plastic matte version of the DDR dance pad.
And that was for PlayStation 2, right?
Yeah, well, the original DDR is on PS1.
Oh, okay.
So the version that's, I suppose, coming to the island is just Dance Dance Revolution. It was the bundle, according to price charting. So we have DDR in a box with the PS1 version and probably a completely trash dance pad. But
it's going to go really good on the sand. Yeah, this is a perfect one to bring to the desert island. We're going to set up the pad on some sand and break our ankles.
No, we're gonna chop down some trees. We're gonna chop down palm trees, and we're gonna build literally, yeah, we're gonna build ourselves a dance floor for the DDR mat to live on. I've got a soft spot in my heart for rhythm games. I've been a big fan of Guitar Hero for a long time, and I don't know if it just started with like DDR, which I was never great at DDR. I mean, let's be honest. I was never the impressive kid at the arcade who people were like watching play DDR.
But that's what you wanted to be.
Well, no. I don't know. The DDR, yeah.
DDR is funny because you're right. Like maybe that's where like this Guitar Hero and all of like the Wii motion games, like this was out before all of that. And then those things came and they were just massive, like huge cultural things where all of a sudden like gaming and moving could go together. But DDR did it first.
Well, I feel like Konami made some other like arcade rhythm games as well. I think they had, I want to say they had one called Guitar Freak, and I want to say they had a drum one as well. So it was like Guitar Hero took this idea of rhythm games in the arcade and sort of brought it home and simplified it a bit and kind of, I don't want to say brought it to the masses, but maybe Guitar Hero brought rhythm games to the masses.
I don't know, man. A lot of my friends in middle school and high school had DDR pads.
Really?
I remember playing a lot of DDR at like sleepovers at my friend Scotty's house.
Oh, so you've been holding out on me. You are a DDR fan. You were just pretending like I was the only one.
No, I wasn't pretending. Like I don't think I ever owned DDR. But I've played it. I've played some DDR.
You like DDR? I don't know this about you.
Currently, no. I'm not sure that DDR and my broken hip would go super
I was
well
gonna say,
together.
let's paint a picture. We go to a free play arcade. you are fully healed and able to move and walk.
Okay, good.
Are you playing
I'm
on?
good. Stop right there. We don't need to do anything else. I don't have to do PT anymore. I can walk.
No.
Sweet.
Are you jumping on the DDR machine or are you not?
Sure. Yeah, at a free play arcade, I'd play some DDR, especially if it was old school and there were some of the songs that I remembered.
I love the Mortal Kombat theme was I think the Mortal Kombat theme from the movie.
Was there something called like Captain Jack or something like that?
Something like that. I remember playing "Blow My Whistle, Baby." Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just googled it. There was definitely something called Captain Jack. I don't know why that is still in my head. Apparently, it's an artist that has had 12 songs appear on DDR, so that doesn't really narrow it down.
I think now I think we need to do a rhythm game month celebration for the podcast.
Play Donkey Konga,
and DDR Mario mix or something.
Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero 1 and 2 are both
played the heck out of Guitar Hero 3 on my Wii.
Oh man. Next up, Jordan, we got House of the Dead 2.
House of the Dead 2. Now, I love light gun games, but I don't love spooky zombies. And so this one's kind of, you're going to have to take the lead on this one.
Well, okay. So I was like, you got to bring light gun games to the island. Light gun games are amazing. I love them. What are our retro game collection light gun choices?
Yeah.
And I was originally going to go with Time Crisis. But after like looking, I was like, well, wait a minute. Are there like retro home ports of House of the Dead? Because I feel like I don't know a lot about Time Crisis. Yeah. Like I have, I think, Time Crisis 3 and 4 on like PlayStation Move. So I've played like newer Time Crisis, but I've played like House of the Dead 2 and stuff in the arcade. And it's like cheesy, terrible horror with like awful story and characters. And like the whole thing is just completely silly. But it's a fun game.
I mean, you can't go wrong with light gun games. I remember putting in like 100 hours into Ghost Squad on my Wii. I played the heck out of that game. It was only 3 levels, but every time you beat it, you unlocked like a new gun or a new outfit or something.
Ghost Squad?
I played a lot of Ghost Squad on the Wii.
Is that like a Ghostbusters game?
No, it's like a Tom Clancy kind of like shooter game.
Really?
It's not. Tom Clancy doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's like that kind of like tactical operations shooting game.
Okay. I see you. But House of the Dead 1, there's a Sega Saturn version, and it's like very expensive.
Yeah, like everything Sega Saturn.
Yeah, basically. So I went with House of the Dead 2 because I think I've played House of the Dead 2. I know. And the Dreamcast version, there's a bundle that's way more affordable.
The
original.
Over the affordable.
So we're going to go with the Dreamcast version of House of the Dead 2. Over Time Crisis, although we probably could have done our top 14 Desert Island arcade ports and brought Time Crisis, but no, we kicked Time Crisis off the island.
If you're going to be on a desert island with arcade ports, you need to bring a light gun game just to mix it up and because they're a lot of fun.
Just one?
I mean, at least.
Yeah. I feel like
we've got a pretty diverse list so far.
Yeah.
You've got a vertical shooter, a brick breaker, Bobble, a sideways shooter with Contra, Crazy Taxi, a rhythm game, a light gun game. Like those are all very different. We're doing good so far, 7 into our 13.
So that's a good point. This one might be the most diverse list we've put together.
Oh yeah,
so far, and 2 speaks to the strength of arcade games and how. I mean, I guess it's not fair to necessarily. I mean, arcade is a genre, but it's not.
Yeah,
but I think I think it speaks to how crazy it is that you can have this many sort of styles of games that fit inside of an arcade. I don't know. It's making, like, looking at this list is making me appreciate arcade games more now that I'm like sitting and processing it in a way that I kind of do.
The crazy thing, Dan, I think, is that it took us all the way to number 8 before we got a beat 'em up game, which is
Unheard of.
Not typical for us because we love beat 'em up games. Number 8 on the list is from both of us. Knights of the Round. We covered it extensively back in episode 30 of the podcast. It's one of our favorite beat 'em up games. And if we're going to be on a desert island, we got to bring this one because it's one of our life goals for the two of us to actually beat this thing. And eventually we'll make it happen.
We can make it to the last level, but we can't beat it. I feel like one of these days we need to stick it through. We need to find like a good excuse or a good punishment for not sticking this one through.
I don't know. I don't know if that would motivate me to play any better. I think,
If you don't beat Knights of the Round this month, Jordan, you can't have Qdoba. You have to eat all Chipotle instead with no queso.
I would just skip burritos for a month.
All you can have for a month is Chipotle.
Chipotle's gone so far downhill that my Chipotle apologist brother has abandoned Chipotle. He's abandoned them because they've just gotten worse and worse throughout the years. And I've been like, no, man, they've been terrible always.
No, they haven't always been terrible. But I will say that for my birthday celebration with my family, we got Chipotle, and
I'm so sorry.
We ordered. So there were 4 of us eating, and they screwed up 3 of the 4 entrees.
Sounds like a normal day at Chipotle.
Against all odds, they put my ingredients on somebody else's bowl and somebody else's ingredients. It was like they mixed and matched the.
Gotcha.
We all ordered different ingredients on our bowls, and they mixed and matched them on each bowl. So it was like they didn't even kind of. I don't know. They got all the ingredients right, but they got all of them in the wrong places. It was like, Chipotle, you're not. Never mind.
When I was in kindergarten, Dan, we had this box full of craft materials, and the box was called the Ring-a-Ding-Ding Do Your Own Thing box. And I feel like that's kind of Chipotle's life motto is just ring-a-ding-ding, do your own thing. Just throw whatever you want on there.
What? What?
Yeah.
Usually when I go to my main Chipotle, they don't ever disappoint me. I'm like, I'll be eating that burrito bowl, and I'll be like, I could literally drop dead with this being my last meal, and I would be perfectly content. But it is that good.
Wow.
At my normal Chipotle, but man, they really dropped the ball last time. So
anyway, all of that to say, that was just a metaphor for how Dan feels about Knights of the Round. It's great. It could be the last game he plays before he dies, and he'd be happy with it.
I don't know about that. I like it. I like it a lot, but I was just trying to find a good excuse for us to beat it, which would be making you eat Chipotle.
Yeah, or being stuck on a desert island. One of those two would probably make it happen.
Jordan, next on the list, we got another one that's just, you can't not. Like this, you have to. It's NFL. It's NFL Blitz.
NFL Blitz, all the way back to episode 3
Goodness.
Of the podcast. NFL Blitz. That was an early one. Holy cow.
Yeah, this is one of those games that like brings out the the best and worst of friendships and family bonds. It's one of the
love it.
Yeah, it's one of the great arcade sports games of all time. It's a special one to us, and I still don't think you've ever beaten me in a game of Blitz.
Okay, well, I guess you guys, if you want, you can go back and watch our Afterlife stream where I don't think I let Dan score a single touchdown.
First of all, I don't know what Afterlife is.
Afterlife. It's an Afterlife stream. It's where we died and we streamed for the kids.
Second of all, the VODs only stay up for 2 weeks, so nobody has that stream except for me, so they can't watch it. So.
One of the reasons I love NFL Blitz is because I could almost never, very rarely, could I beat my brothers in NFL Blitz, but I don't know if I've ever lost a game to Dan. Which is rare because I very rarely beat Dan in these games. So NFL Blitz is coming to the island, if only to boost my morale after he has crushed me in Dance Dance Revolution and whatever else we're playing.
Well, the thing about Blitz, though, is sure, you can hold your own in the home versions of Blitz, but I'm pretty sure I'm undefeated in the arcade version of Blitz when we've played.
All right, that could be true. That could be true. It was one time though, so let's not give it.
It was one time, but it was like 28 games in a row.
Free play. That's again goes back to why you need free play at an arcade. Because you play 28 games of Blitz, you're paying by the quarter, like literally the quarter of the game.
That's true. That's true. It's ridiculous.
Which is a hilarious model. It's like, okay, you want to play the full game, you got to pay 4 times.
That's ridiculous.
Yes, NFL Blitz.
Unreal.
Next up on the list is the only other one that I individually contributed, and it's a one that's near and dear to all of our hearts. I think we know this game well.
All none. What are you gonna do?
It is Rampart for the NES. If you want to hear more about it, go back 3 episodes because we covered it. It was the first episode we did in December, and I couldn't have enough nice things to say about the tower defense game that started it all. And we had a good time with multiplayer, so I think it'd be a great one to bring to the desert island.
Why is Rampart like? I can't. My brain isn't firing on all cylinders right now. But I'm like, what is the something that just won't die? It's like a joke that keeps coming back and it just won't die. I'm trying to
$2.
No, not literally. What's a joke?
The whole
but
mayo thing.
The idea of something that just won't die.
Oh.
It's like, I don't know. It's like something...
Fast and the Furious movies.
That's true.
Like, I don't understand how, not that they just keep making them, but people keep going and seeing them. Like they make $1 billion. They make $1 billion every time they release a Fast and the Furious movie. And it's like, who? Why? Like, who's going to see this?
But Jordan, you don't have your finger on the pulse of culture. How many times on this podcast have you called out a group of individuals?
Listen, there's a reason that I'm frequently referred to as the voice of a generation, and that's because my hot takes are spot on.
Spot on. A lot of people are going and seeing those Fast movies.
I guess maybe.
Yeah.
They are going to see them. I'm just wondering, like, are these real people? Are these like, is Vin Diesel making clones and like forcing them to go watch this movie so he can keep a high profile or something? I don't understand.
I don't know. They were originally about street racing and now apparently they're about family or something.
Which is what the game Rampart is all about, and that's why we're bringing it to the island.
So I have one note about Rampart.
Yeah.
Rampart is fun in small bursts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. In small bursts.
Yeah. I don't know about Rampart,
game,
man. I don't know. Maybe.
If only there was an hour-long episode out there where we discuss all of the pros and cons of Rampart.
Mostly the cons, but, you know. We're going to keep talking about Rampart every chance we get, apparently, from now on.
Well, you know, it's just one of those games that just demands to be discussed. All right, Dan, next up on the list is one that we can both agree on.
Yeah.
It's Sunset Riders.
Yeah.
Cowboy Contra.
Yeah, another old episode of the podcast. When did we cover this one? I feel like...
That is a good question.
Was it in like the early teens or something? Was it like 12 maybe or something?
It was episode 13.
13.
You almost nailed that. Episode 13, Sunset Riders.
Yeah, this is so if you like Contra, but you want like a better version of Contra.
You're going better? You're saying it's better, huh?
So, yes, I am. Because it's like Sunset Riders is way more palatable than Contra. Contra is pretty unforgiving through and through, whereas I feel like in Sunset Riders you get a lot more room to breathe. You get a lot, I don't know, the gun upgrades are fun, whereas
there's almost no platforming, which is real nice.
Oh, and the platforming that is there, like you can sort of, I think it's got like tiers to it, right? Where you like,
you can't like just fall in a hole and die.
That's also welcome. So yeah, Sunset Riders is like Contra, but like better and Wild West.
It also looks a lot nicer. It's, I mean, they're both Konami, so they both have great soundtracks, but yeah. It's a good game. It's worth checking out if you haven't played it. And if you haven't played it, where have you been for the last 30 years?
It's true. Isn't the arcade version 4 players as well?
Yeah.
So I think there's an arcade archives version out there if you're interested in experiencing that with some of the nice quality of life features that come with arcade archives versions. But yeah, Sunset Riders, what a game. I want to play more of it. It's been like I've been wanting to play the arcade version for like a year, whatever, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So
My wife and I recently went to a free play arcade near us, and they did not have Sunset Riders. But
without me.
Without you, yeah.
I'm still salty about it.
It was a surprise for my birthday, so you can't blame me. You can blame her. But they did not have Sunset Riders, but they did have the Cowboys of Moo Mesa, which is just a straight up reskin, basically, of Sunset Riders.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
It was the same one that we went to like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, like every single machine in there is different now.
Do they still have the Blitz machine though?
They did not. Actually, Moo Mesa was where the Blitz machine used to be.
No.
Yeah.
My heart.
But I think they rotate stuff, so I don't think it's like gone.
Dang it. I hope it's not. Now I gotta... Moo Mesa, man? That's a game that not a lot of people talk about.
No, I mean, it's not as good. Not as good. Your sprites are like twice as big for no reason at all, except for just for you to absorb more bullets.
Oh, man. Did they still have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I don't think so.
How dare you? Why would you not look?
How dare I? I don't know, man. They had the Halo game, which I was really excited about.
Goodness. Is that like the twin stick shooter Halo, or is it like a shooter, like a first person?
No, like you had a
gun?
giant machine gun and you were like light gunning the screen, yeah.
Why does that not exist on a home console?
Because you'd rather just play actual Halo at that point.
Not me, not with Infinite.
Dude, Infinite is great. We don't need to talk about it. You're wrong. Dan, what's next up on the list?
Next up is a game. So I was like trying to figure out my list. And so I was like looking through my retro games and I was like, what did I miss? And then I saw Tekken 3 in my PS1 games and I was like, how did I forget about Tekken 3? Now, I know we're not big fighting game guys on this show, generally speaking. But Tekken 3 is a game that not only did I play a lot of on the PS1, I remember playing the arcade version. And I also remember thinking about the PS1 version, I don't know how video games will ever look any better than this.
Yeah.
Which is very funny when you look at PS1 games now, or like any game that you used to think that about, and you're just like, how did this look good to me back then?
I don't know. Tekken. So I'm not a big fighting game guy, but Tekken was one of the few fighting games that my friends owned. We actually owned it, I think maybe on PS2.
Yeah.
And there's just something about like, I don't know, maybe because it doesn't take itself so seriously and you can like fight as a panda bear.
Yes.
You know, I just was a big fan of that. So
you like Tekken. We've never talked about this.
No, I mean, I don't like Tekken. I would play some Tekken. Like, I remember being at a friend's house and playing through the story of Tekken and, like, watching the cutscenes and stuff and being like, oh, this is cool.
The story's completely ridiculous, too.
It was, like, something about a mob boss. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was literally multiple decades ago. But, I mean, as far as fighting game goes, Tekken's cool. Be a panda bear. Or just a normal bear. If you want to be a normal bear, that's okay, too.
Or a wrestler dressed as a giant cat.
I don't remember that one.
Is King?
I thought that was just like a leopard man.
No, it's a man with a leopard mask on. He's a wrestler.
Oh, I thought that you were just straight up playing as like a bipedal leopard.
No. And
then there was also like a breakdancing guy. I liked the breakdancing guy.
Eddie, I believe his name was. My brother used to like him. Yep.
That sounds right.
Yep.
I know some Tekken.
Yeah, I'm surprised. We've never talked about this. Yeah, Tekken's one of those games that's a little bit like Marvel versus Capcom in the way that it can make you feel like you know what you're doing, even though you have no idea what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. You just mash the heck out of the buttons.
Yeah, it's easy to pull off combos in Tekken, and you like feel like you're good at it till you play against somebody who is good at Tekken.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tekken 3 gotta come to the island. It's one of the. I feel like a lot of people love Tekken 3, specifically. So for some reason, it's the one. It's certainly the one for me.
All right. And last on our list, Dan, the one for you. I mean, it's got to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game because there's no way you're letting us make a list without a Ninja Turtles game.
It's another one that
which one are you bringing?
It just won't die. It can't die. It's my Rampart. It's Turtles in Time.
Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
Which have I heard you say before that you think that the Super Nintendo version is better than the arcade version of this?
I believe we talked about that and sort of established that in that episode. I think that's episode 50, right? That was like our Anniversagist 2020 episode, I want to say, like a year and a half ago.
Episode 50.
Yeah, I think I was unpleasantly surprised when we did that episode to find out that I like the Super Nintendo version more than the arcade version, which is in most cases that are not Contra. It's pretty unheard of that the home port is going to be better.
I've heard some people say
version.
Yeah, I've heard some people say that the arcade version is a little bit slidey, and that the home version has better controls.
Well, I think that's what it was like the arcade version. I think it moved fast, and I didn't feel like I had as much control over things as I wanted to. And the home version just plays a little slower. It just gives you a little bit better control. I mean, I think technically too, we could, if you're a Genesis kid, we could shove Hyperstone Heist in this slot as well, since it's kind of a Turtles in Time port.
No.
How is it not like a? It's
they're different. They're different games.
It's a spiritual port of Turtles in Time.
That's fine. Sure.
So what a game. Turtles in Time. I mean, if you could only bring one arcade port to the
chance. Absolutely not.
Why would it not be a beat 'em up game?
You're bringing one game, make it a beat 'em up game, sure.
Beat 'em ups they're infinitely replayable. They don't get old.
Neither of those are true. I'm looking at this list and I feel like I would take almost any other game besides one of the two beat 'em up games if it was just one game.
You talk about our honorable mentions?
No. Just like at our list of 13 here.
If you only had one option?
Yeah, I'm not taking one of the beat 'em up games.
Okay, well, all right. Well, that's an interesting conversation. If you're only taking one of these, what is it going to be?
I feel like
oh man.
Oh goodness. Like if you're actually on a desert island, you're not going to have the energy for Dance Dance Revolution, and you're like, you have to build a dance floor. Like I was thinking, like maybe that one would be fun, and it would like keep your spirits high because you're doing active things and listening to music.
It's exhausting.
But I would maybe Bobble just because it's long and there's like the puzzle aspect of it, and but that one, it only has one song. It would drive you insane.
That's true.
You don't want House of the Dead. That's going to make you too scared at night.
No, House of the Dead is not scary.
Yeah, you're going to be freaking out at every noise because you're going to think zombies are jumping out to get you.
No.
I guess you have to go with Rampart.
You're not taking Crazy Taxi?
Actually, probably Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi?
Or Blitz.
I'm looking at Tekken 3 and I'm wondering if that is an option. Bobble is also a good choice. But I got to go with Knights of the Round.
I thought so.
Man, if we could only have one game together.
It can't be Blitz because we would not be friends. One of us would get murdered on the island.
Right.
It's got to be Crazy Taxi, I think.
Yeah. I'm not mad about that.
There you have it. That's our list of 13. But we do, as Dan mentioned, we have some honorable mentions that we will touch on very briefly.
Yeah.
Very briefly here. Yeah. Number 1, alphabetically again, is Captain America and the Avengers, which is a mashup of a beat 'em up game and a shoot 'em up game.
I don't like it when you say that.
Why?
Because for some reason, I mean, technically you're right, but it's like it has.
Love hearing you say that.
It had. I was going through my phone. For some reason, I came across a thing where I had taken a screenshot of a Discord conversation where I admitted that you were right about something.
Ooh, I love it.
And you immediately had the same reaction where you're just like, "This is amazing." You love to hear it.
Yeah.
And then right underneath, I posted a screenshot of our Instagram poll where we were talking about the green versus the yellow Game Boy screen. And it was like 73 to like 27% in favor of you being wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what's up with that.
So funny you should mention that. But
Captain America and the Avengers. It's an interesting arcade port in that the arcade graphics and the port graphics are not that dissimilar. For some reason, the sprites are super tiny in that game, so you don't really lose a whole lot out there in the port.
You got to take the Genesis version, though.
I agree. And we covered both the Super Nintendo and Genesis versions back in episode 19 if you want to hear more about that game.
That's true. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do.
Maybe you don't, maybe you do. Next up on the list, honorable mentions, is Galaga. This is actually an arcade port that I owned on the NES, Galaga. It's a really good time. I love Galaga. It's one of my favorite arcade games. If I'm ever in an arcade, like if it's pay or free play, it doesn't matter. I'm going to play Galaga, and it's just fun for some reason. The NES version is a little bit slow, so it kind of makes you feel like you're better at Galaga than you actually are.
Now when I typed Galaga into price charting, there was like not just like Galaga on the NES. There was like a PAL NES version of Galaga, and then there was like Galaga did something with like some kind of subtitle. And I was like, I swear there is a straight up port of Galaga on the NES.
Yeah, we had
North
it.
American. Like, why is it not showing up here? And I don't know if my brain was just off and I was somehow missing it, but I was like, I swear there's an NES version of Galaga. Why am I not seeing it here?
Oh, Galaga. It's called Galaga Demons of Death on the NES.
Okay, so that's what is, but it is Galaga.
It's Galaga.
Why would it be called? Why would they add a subtitle on just the NES version?
I don't know. Why do they add a subtitle to? What was it? Mario Brothers 2 has a subtitle that doesn't actually ever get acknowledged.
What do you mean?
On the cover for Mario
New Brothers?
2. No, on the cover for Mario 2, it says Mario Madness.
That's not the subtitle.
It looks like a subtitle. I don't think Demons of Death
Didn't we talk about this before?
Yeah, we did in the Mario 2 episode. I don't think that Demons of Death is actually like the Galaga subtitle because it doesn't show that as the subtitle on Wikipedia.
Well, that's what the price charting game title is called. Is Demons of Death.
Weird.
Maybe
anyway,
that's what the game should have been
Galaga,
called.
But a little bit slower.
Yeah. Next up on our honorable mentions. Now, Jordan, I almost brought NBA Jam. I was looking at it again because it's again another one of the persistent cockroach. Maybe that's what I'm looking for, as a cockroach, something that just you can't kill it. It just continues to perpetuate no matter how.
What a resounding endorsement of this game. It's a cockroach.
No, NBA Jam.
Yeah.
Because when I was playing NBA Jam for the Super Nintendo Desert Island list, I was like, maybe this isn't fun single player. Maybe it's only fun multiplayer.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So I decided to not go with NBA Jam this time around.
Oh, yeah? What you got?
To go with another Midway classic, Jordan, NBA Showtime. NBA on NBC. Now, if you were fortunate in an arcade, you might have found an NFL Blitz / NBA Showtime arcade machine where you could play two of the finest arcade games. I think that this one, it's been a little while since I've played it, but it's probably better than NBA Jam. I remember having Team Fire, and I just remember having a great time with the Create a Player and like all this stuff. I used to play this one a ton. So I'm move over NBA Jam. I'm taking the PS1 / Dreamcast port of NBA Showtime, NBA on NBC, which I believe is also another one of those games where you paid by the quarter, not the quarter.
I know, that's a really confusing phrase. When we say that, we're trying to say that the game itself is split up into 4 quarters, like a basketball game or a football game has 4 quarters, and you have to pay a quarter for each quarter. Or
I think it might have even been 50 cents or something ridiculous like that.
No, that would be.
And on top of that, Jordan, if I'm not mistaken, they made each player pay each quarter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. You don't get to have a second player for free.
What are you talking about? What a monetization scheme. You
think skins in Halo Infinite are bad? Wait till you play NBA Showtime, NBA on NBC.
Well, just go to an arcade if you think skins are bad. Although the skins are pretty bad in Halo Infinite currently.
No,
let's be honest.
It's bad. All right. Next up on the list. This was one of mine. Honorable mention to Rampage Universal Tour. We played Rampage World Tour all the way back in episode 6 of the show. It is a port of Rampage, which is a classic arcade game, but it's beefed up a little bit. The difference between Universal Tour and World Tour, they're basically the same game, built on the same engine, but Universal Tour just has some different monsters, and you end up finishing the game in space instead of just going around the world. So it's got a little bit of extra.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played a ton of Universal Tour. I was a little bit surprised when you were like, Rampage Universal Tour is on the desert island. Honorable. I was like, what?
Yeah, well, I mean,
do we even like Rampage World Tour very much?
It's a fun game, just like the climbing up, breaking buildings and stuff. It's a good time. You probably don't want to like sit there and play it for hours and hours, but it's very different from anything else on the list, and it's a good time. I remember having fond memories of playing Universal Tour on our N64. So it didn't make it on the list, but honorable mention.
Yeah. And lastly, Jordan, you couldn't get away from this list without a second Ninja Turtles game. Finally, we got Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, the NES port of it. I didn't have the heart to put 2 Ninja Turtles games on the list.
Yeah, no,
I exercised restraint, but
I'm proud of you.
I had to bring another TMNT game on our honorable mentions because, like, I don't know, both of the Ninja Turtle arcade games just have a spot in my heart. But this is the not as good one that's on the NES instead of the Super Nintendo. So
it's not even the best Turtles game on the NES. But
but the other one's
Manhattan Project isn't an arcade port. So
that's right. If Manhattan Project was an arcade port, it would be in place of, or actually, it would be another honorable mention.
You can hear all about the arcade game in episode 31 and Manhattan Project
17, 18.
16. Episode 16, yeah.
I can feel them all in there somewhere.
So there you go. There's our 5 honorable mentions. Captain America and the Avengers, Galaga, NBA Showtime, Rampage, Universal Tour, and Ninja Turtles, the arcade game.
That wraps up 18 arcade ports that are,
here you go.
Are worth checking out.
Here's 2 more that I would have loved to put on the list, but I haven't played them. I love the arcade versions, but we haven't got around to playing the ports, and that is The Punisher for Sega Genesis, which we are going to get around to on the show eventually because Dan owns it now. And the other one is Die Hard, the arcade game, which I think is only on like Sega Saturn. And who's got money for that? But I loved the Die Hard. It's a beat 'em up game. It's 3D, and pretty much the entire world is destructible, and you can like pick up pipes and trash cans and beat the crap out of people. So good. So there's 2 more, but they didn't make honorable mention or the Desert Island list because we just haven't played them.
I've heard good things about Die Hard Arcade, but
dude, it was the game that we would play. We'd go to the Skateland West, which was the local skating rink, and they had Die Hard, and I would play that game every single time we were there. That's where all my quarters would go.
Every time we went to the local skating rink,
which was frequently. Oh yeah, man.
Goodness. Oh, skating rinks! What a relic of a bygone era.
That skating rink has since been turned into a haunted house. So
really,
maybe they have a copy of House of the Dead 2.
The game's not spooky.
So spooky.
It's not spooky. All right, Jordan. Let's move on to the rest of our show.
Let's do it.
So, Jordan, this is the part where I would normally ask you what you would pay for a game that we just covered on the show, and you would normally say $2 for the gameplay, $10 to put it on your shelf.
That sounds right. That's me.
That's you. But today we can't. But I have price charting prices for all of the things.
Yeah.
Most of the things. When we did the Desert Island Super Nintendo list, I asked you what was the most worthless game on the list.
Yeah.
What on this list do you think is the most worthless? And by most worthless, I mean, what is the most expensive arcade port that we decided to bring to the island today?
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. It's probably gonna be now. Does House of the Dead 2? Does that include the peripherals?
That is the bundled version, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go with House of the Dead 2.
It's not House of the Dead 2.
Oh man.
The Dreamcast version of House of the Dead 2, which is the price that I have.
Yeah.
The loose gun bundle is $41.
Okay, that's not crazy.
So, although I think in the picture on the box, it was like a light gun and then like a disc like hanging out in the plastic. So I don't know if they actually gave you a case for the game with that.
That's amazing. That's
Is
amazing.
Is it?
I got some Nintendo Wii games that were like that, where it just like came in like a little sleeve.
Just stop. Just don't. Like, just don't.
No,
please.
I agree. Don't. Like Link's crossbow training just came in a cardboard sleeve. Wii Sports came in a cardboard sleeve.
Yeah. All right, take one more stab. What do you think? Look, take a look.
Okay, my second guess here is gonna be Turtles in Time.
Turtles in Time. No.
Oh wow.
No, your brain is
What's wrong?
atrophying, maybe.
Yeah, sure. That's a good word.
Rotting. Turtles in Time going for $57 currently at present. But
all right, okay. One last guess.
Okay.
It's got to be the DDR bundle then.
No, DDR PS1 bundles complete in box $30.
Holy crap! All right, just tell me which
like
one is
that
it.
that flimsy vinyl. Terrible mat that you're not gonna have a good time playing DDR with. I played it like a year ago and I was like, I can't do this.
No,
this is
no,
awful.
no.
And I'm pretty sure this isn't responding correctly because you like fold it up and like you it's whatever, it's 9x9 or whatever. So you like fold the sides in, then you fold the top and the bottom and like a towel and you stick it in a box. I'm like, this seems like good for electronics.
No.
Most expensive game on the list, Knights of the Round at $100.
Oh yeah, dang! I didn't even think about that. I
Yeah.
forgot how crazy expensive that one has gotten.
And then Sunset Riders at $95. I think is taking up the second slot there.
Jeez, both of those you can get digitally, like on the Switch. You can get Knights of the Round comes in the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, and Sunset Riders has an Arcade Archives port, and so you can play those games for a lot cheaper if you don't mind picking up a digital version on a modern console.
Mm-hmm. Jordan, moving on. Did you find any trivia today?
I didn't.
Jarcaduary.
In the midst of our plane crashing into the desert island, I seem to have lost my extensive trivia research.
You seem to have lost Google and your smartphone.
Well, I didn't bring a satellite
and our community.
phone, or else we'd be off this island already.
You didn't bring your Satellaview?
No.
All right, fair enough. We do have a bounty, but we're as we're recording, we're still in the throes of December.
No, we decided not to have a pun for this.
No, we didn't. We decided it was December.
You may have decided that.
Like it kind of sounds like
it's my
your because I'm
name.
talking to you.
Yeah, I got it.
It's December.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just don't think it's good.
Well, name a good pun in the history of the show. Besides
there's some-
January.
Are you kidding? January Arcaduary might be the greatest pun ever.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan. So much better than
Okami or Jalami?
No, you were gonna call it like Jarcaduary or something.
Yeah, well, that was the original, and then I was like It just worked.
January Arcaduary is way better.
So good.
Yeah. So, like Dan said, we don't have a winner yet for December, but
that's what we're trying to say.
we have a brand new bounty for you to enter for January, and it is going to be not just for the eShop this month. It's going to be for the system of your choice between the Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox.
Yes.
Right? Is that correct, Dan?
I think so.
And all you have to do is send us a direct message with a game, your favorite game.
Doesn't have to be your favorite.
Best game?
No.
Best game?
No. No. Send us a direct message with what arcade game never got a port that absolutely should have gotten a port.
There it is. What arcade game didn't get a port that should have gotten a port? Send us that in a direct message on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at WIOW Podcast. You can also send us an email
at worthitoworthlesspodcast@gmail.com.
You can direct message Dan or myself on Discord. And don't forget, every month you can earn bonus entries by just participating in our community on Discord. You still have to submit an actual official DM entry to earn those bonus entries, but you could pick up a couple extra entries just by participating in the community and talking about retro gaming and whatever else is going on in life.
Mm-hmm. This is going to run through the end of January.
Yes, 2022.
Yes, 2022. I'm working, so I alluded to that, our website earlier, Jordan. Worthitoworthless.com/bounty, I think, is officially where the rules are going to finally live.
Wow.
If people want to know all of the interesting things, like you have to send us a DM for your thing to count. You can, if we decide to do bonus entries some other kind of random way for a community event, we could do that. We're trying to get a website going. So worthitoworthless.com/bounty should take you to the rules.
I'm looking at it right now. Look at this. There's all the rules and a button right on there to join our Discord. Nice.
Yep, and a button. So, yeah. Do we say all the things that we need to say? North American credit. Sometimes some of these. So it's $20, but it might be 2 10s. Like, just depending on what denominations are offered, you might get a couple codes. $20 to the major console platform.
Yes, if you want to pick up one of those controversial Halo Infinite skins, this could be your chance.
Do you, though?
$20 could get you
visor color,
AI, and a charm for your rifle.
What is going on?
Alternatively,
with Halo Infinite cosmetics.
You could get a full game or multiple full games.
You could get something worth your money.
Exactly. Actually, not even worth your money, worth our money.
Yeah, and moving on. I'm trying to think of, like, what's next. I was trying to think if we had anything more to say about the bounty, but do we have anything more to say about the bounty, Jordan, before we move on to the rest of our little bit of housekeeping here?
I think that's it.
Okay, next episode, 1943. Going to be out in 2 weeks, as we said earlier. If you want to join us on Patreon to have sort of say in some of the episodes that we're putting out, that was the response of a Patreon poll. If you go to patreon.com/worthitoworthless, you can get early access to this show. You can get an exclusive monthly show called Super Worth It or Worthless All Stars Deluxe, a retro game podcast which is like a different kind of, it's a little bit more like our Desert Island lists, where we get into some of the weeds on some retro gaming topics. So it's different.
It's mostly myself and another Jordan teaming up on Dan, which is always a good time.
It's Dan joined by too many Jordan, as I lovingly refer to them now. Sometimes it's not good. I don't think it's always going to be too many Jordan, though.
No, we actually got some of that cloning technology that Vin Diesel has to pump up the numbers for Fast and the Furious, and we made another me. We have very distinct personalities and likes when it comes to video games, though.
It's like multiplicity, where you make the copy of a copy of a copy, and then the one ends up like really screwed up.
Yeah, just kind of like that. I don't know if I'm the screwed up one or he is. You'll have to tune in to find out.
Shout out to multiplicity.
Never seen it, but I remember seeing the cover of it at Blockbuster many times.
Some of Michael Keaton's finest work.
Really?
Yeah, probably. I think that's what people say.
Batman, Spider-Man, and Multiplicity.
Spider-Man? What?
Yeah, he plays the Vulture in.
Oh! He also plays. He plays Birdman in Birdman.
You're right. He's played a lot of the mans.
Speaking of the Vulture. All right, my friend. Do you have anything else before we close out our show with our music segment?
I think that's going to do it for us, but we hope that you guys are having a great start to 2022, and here's to a great year of retro gaming with all of you.
Yes, for sure. Jordan, I scoured Game Chops for a few minutes looking for an arcade song to go with our arcade themed episode here. And so I came up with some Pokemon music.
Oh yeah, classic arcade game Pokemon. Nice.
Because I couldn't find any arcade stuff. I was like, maybe I should put this Marvel Madness. There's like a Marble Madness track. I was like, I don't know. I don't think I want to put this in the show, but I can't do this. So I was like, let's go with Chiltendo 2 by Jokabi.
Classic.
Professor Sycamore's theme from Pokemon X and Y.
Love it.
So
all right, let's hear it.
Pokemon music, always a classic. All right, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the show. We will see you in 2 weeks.
We will.
Bye.
See ya.